Hello everyone, I'm Keegs and welcome to my review of Act 3 of The Legend of Vox Machina. This is going to include episodes 7, 8, and 9. If you haven't seen my previous video about 4, 5, and 6, you can click up here. If you're looking for just a spoiler-free review, then this show is awesome, go watch it. Now here we're going to get into all these spoilers and all the awesome things that happened in these last 3 episodes. Starting off, I loved seeing Percy as a bookworm in his backstory, and they showed the flashback with him and then his sister used to be kind of the goof and messing around and always kind of getting him in trouble. Clearly, she's not quite like that anymore. She's gone through a little more hardships, I would say. I'm also kind of wondering, how did their hair turn white? I assume maybe the professor did some experiments on them. You know, the family wasn't very good to them, and then when the vampires took over, he was able to do some experiments or something on them, and it kind of killed their hair. Speaking of the professor, the lesson that he gave in that flashback was using the exact same rocks as the lady vampire, Delilah, I think her name was using in her ritual. So I wonder if that's going to come back and have some sort of effect of them remembering that lesson that they were taught all those years ago and breaking the stones to end the curse somehow. Speaking of Delilah, though, we got some of her backstory, actually, which I wasn't really expecting, but it was nice to see. So I guess her husband was very sick, so she ended up doing some dark magic and turning him into a vampire. But I also, from that, it looks like maybe she's just a witch and she's not a vampire at all, and that's why she is not so pale? I'm not sure. I feel like they made some mention to her drinking blood, but maybe that was just in my head or I interpreted it the wrong way. But I think that she is actually just a witch, a normal witch, and he is the only vampire in that relationship. So it makes me wonder if he can actually turn other people into vampires. But going back to episode 7, Kiki was at the tree and she felt the roots, and clearly they're being corrupted somehow or being poisoned down at the very core of the tree. So I'm assuming them taking that out will have some kind of dampening effect for the vampires somehow and help them to defeat them. Or maybe not, or maybe just once they defeat the vampires, all of a sudden the tree is going to stop being poisoned and able to grow into a nice, beautiful tree again. It was always great to see a good old D&D shout out too, with the guards playing in their room before they were kind of interrupted by Scanlan, which I thought was pretty funny. And his whole entrance was really funny when he went into obviously the wrong room when he went into the building. He did, though, cause a giant distraction, got into a giant fight with the Duke, and then used his Bixby's hand to make a giant middle finger to block all the sword, which I thought was just fantastic. And then he had a epic spell at the end of that, so I couldn't recognize exactly what that spell was. So if somebody knows the answer to that, then let me know down in the comments, because I don't remember going through my monster manual and seeing a spell that allows you to form energy around your genitalia. I love when the rest of the gang goes over to investigate the door to see if it's a trap, and Grog just barrels in, which is obviously a very barbarian thing to do when he just runs headfirst into an unknown situation because he's just trying to punch something, which I thought was awesome. And then the episode ends with Percy's sister's throat being slit by the professor, and I actually thought she was a vampire, but I guess she's just a normal person that they like strolled around the town to get people to kind of obey them better. I'm not sure. I guess it goes back to maybe Mr. Briarwood is not able to turn other people into vampires, which is why he didn't turn her or his wife into a vampire yet. But it doesn't matter because Kiki saved her anyway, and I don't think she actually died and was brought back from the dead. I think she was almost dead, so not quite undead yet. And then they ended up fighting with the professor, and there's a big mind control scene in there, classic one where friends don't want to hurt other friends, but you know, they kind of get through it, and pretty much all of them end up being mind controlled anyway, and it ends with what I think was one of Percy's coolest moments ever. Then he got enough time to form his mist and do the craziest bounce shot off of two different things of armor into the professor's face that I've ever seen. I mean, that was a nat 20 roll if I've ever seen one. And I think what I've come to the conclusion of is that mist is that he's summoning some entity, maybe like an abyssal monster, and they're lending him his power, which is why he's not quite able to control it, and he gets really angry and lashes out at a lot of things when he's in that state. But I'm totally on board for this dark side of Percy. I think it's really badass to watch. Then Kiki summons a cloud in the shape of the family crest and rallies all the people, which is pretty sweet. And Delilah like kills one dude and is able to summon like 1,000 zombies. I don't understand how you get hundreds of zombies summoned just from the death of one guy. It seems like it shouldn't have been able to do that much, but that's pretty freaking powerful if it does. And they end up fighting all these zombies, and midway through that fight, Archie ends up getting cut in half by the Duke, which I thought was almost anticlimactic, and it really caught me off guard at that moment. And obviously, clearly, it caught Percy off guard too. Also, I don't want to leave out Percy's rifle that he made, which was so cool. And I love the reasoning they gave for why you couldn't use it again, where it was a work in progress, because I think for that fight, it would have been a little OP, considering it just could obliterate a giant. And Vax professing his love to Kiki there in the middle of the fight when they thought they were going to die. And then Kiki just completely blowing it off, saying like, oh my god, this is completely the wrong time for this, I thought was really funny. So I wonder when they're going to get to talking about that, because clearly the fight with the zombies kind of died down and they are focused on the mission now and not going to be discussing exactly that. All the meanwhile, while this is happening, Pike is over in the temple and she's just having a really, really rough time with the Everlight. But eventually she does overcome her darkness and kind of figuring out who she is so that she can come back a way stronger character, highly buffed. And she has this like really cool astral plane projection of herself, and she's coming out looking like Hercules goddess. And if there's one thing you don't challenge a cleric on, it's a fight against undead. I mean, she just straight up obliterates them, and it's not even really a contest. She ends up blessing all the townsfolk's weapons, and they're able to do like some radiant damage to really just eat into all those undead and just kind of wipe them away. So I wonder if she's going to stay in astral projection for the duration of this arc, or if she's going to get her body back before the season ends. I also wonder if Percy is going to become the king of this nation at the end of the season, or if he's going to stay with the party. I feel like he's going to stay with the party, but they're really pushing hard for him to be a leader and step up and take control and take back his town. So it really feels like they're setting that up, but maybe he's going to give it to his sister, but I'm not sure about that because I'm still waiting for his sister to come back and kind of betray him somehow. I really feel like that's happening. And finally, what a cliffhanger. I mean, holy crap, that was a big one. And, it's just like a D&D party to go see someone locked up in a jail cell and they ask to be released, and the party just, no questions, just go to unlock her. Like, you don't know who or what this person has done, and you're just all ready to trust everything they say. But, I mean, I guess if they're locked up in a dungeon of your enemy, then the enemy of my enemy, am I right? I don't know. But clearly, Percy recognizes her and thinks that she should stay in that jail cell, and in fact, that she should die because he's going to kill her right now. So I'm really interested to see what happens there, and I'm really bummed that I have to wait another week to find out exactly what Percy's beef with this supposedly random woman is. Let me know down in the comments, though, how you felt about this batch of episodes, if you liked them, and if you think any of my theories are right. I'm Keegs, and I will catch you all next week for my talk on the conclusion of Season 1 of The Legend of Vox Machina.